right, so let's call to order. This is a regular board meeting of February 9, 2021, and it's now 5:02. We'll begin roll call. Mary, please.
President Lay,
Here.
Vice President Herrera,
Here.
Clerk Chavez,
Present.
Member Cortese,
Here.
Member Doe.
Here.
All right, so we move to the agenda item 1.02. Are there any members of the public who would like to provide public comment to the board or closed session agenda item at this time? Please submit your public comment online by accessing the form on the district homepage at www.esuhsd.org. Please limit your written comment to no more than 1,000 characters in length. Public comment submitted online will be read into the record. You may also raise your virtual hand in Zoom to request to speak. You will have 2 minutes to speak. Please note, all meetings are recorded. All regular and special meeting to the Board of Trustee and Board Study Session are streamlined on meeting nights and are also available for viewing the day after the meeting by accessing the district YouTube channel listed on the district webpage at www.esuhsd.org. Under the quick link session, the board is not able to respond to items that are not on the agenda or any personnel issues. Your comments will be noted and will be directed to the superintendent and or the appropriate staff member for response. We
have no hands raised.
No hand.
Mr. Banerjee, anything online?
There's no written public comment.
Awesome. So we will reconvene to open session at 6 p.m. All right, thank you. Right, welcome to the regular board meeting of February 9, 2021. So for agenda item 4.01, member of the public, please submit your public comment online by accessing the form on the district homepage at www.esuhsd.org. Please submit your written comment to no more than 1,000 characters in length. Public comment submitted online will be read into the record. You may also raise your virtual hand in Zoom to request to speak. You will have 2 minutes to speak. Please note, all meetings are recorded. All regular and special meetings of the Board of Trustee and Board Study Session are streamlined on meeting nights and are also available for viewing the day after the meeting by accessing the district YouTube channel listed on the district web page at www.esuhsd.org. Under the quick link section. The board is not able to respond to items that are not on the agenda on any personnel issues. Your comment will be read into the record and will be directed to the superintendent and or the appropriate staff member for response. Interpretation of this meeting in Spanish and Vietnamese can be heard by accessing the link and following the instruction shown on the agenda and the district's website. All right, we move to adoption of agenda 5.01. Superintendent and board members may request that item be removed from the agenda for consideration and or carried to a future board meeting for consideration and or action, and or that the board take action in a regular meeting on a subject not listed on the published agenda on an emergency basis or other basis allowed by law. Gov Code 54954.2. Right. See any agenda item will be removed or will be carried to the next board meeting?
Yes, Madam President, would like to move, I think it's 1501.
Okay, 16.01.
15.
15.1.
Oh, 15. Oh, 15.0.
Sorry, I don't have board docs in front of me right at the moment. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, it is 15.01.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Okay. So
You're asking to move it to the next meeting?
Yes, please.
all right. So we move 15.01 to the next meeting. Any other requests? If I don't see anyone, then we move to 6.01. Well, for 6.1 board special recognition, so 6.01 staff building equitable communities. Superintendent Chris Fung, would I take away?
Yeah, actually, I'd like to invite Associate Superintendent Teresa Marquez to go ahead and honor our staff striving towards equitable communities.
All right.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. Today, we honor a number of our staff across our district. Our first honoree is Ms. Mary Guillen, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and Board of Trustees. Kudos from the superintendent read as follows. Mary is the backbone to so much that goes on at the district office, from maintaining the district website, disseminating information to stakeholders, to supporting the Board of Trustees and the superintendent's office. Mary does not hesitate to support anyone that needs help or makes a request and is extremely giving of her time, regardless of what is on her plate. Congratulations to Ms. Guillen. Our next honoree is Mr. Joe Lovato, English teacher at Mount Pleasant High School. And kudos from the principal read as follows. I am recognizing Joe for his hard work and dedication to the students and staff of Mount Pleasant. In addition to serving as department chair, as a member of MTSS, and as a member of the School Site Council, Joe has done an outstanding job as our WAS coordinator. He is both liked and respected by the Mount Pleasant staff and community. He truly cares about our students and our school. Joe is dedicated to the work of making a difference in the lives of our students and building equitable communities at Mount Pleasant. Thank you for all you do and represent. Congratulations to Mr. Lovato. Our next honoree is Ms. Adele Segun, English teacher at Calero High School. And kudos from her principal state, Adele is our English department chairperson. Adele cares for her students and puts her heart into her classes to ensure her students are successful. She goes above and beyond when working with students, families, and staff. We are fortunate to have her on our staff at Calero. Congratulations to Ms. Segun. Our next honoree is Blasa Osuna, Parent and Community Involvement Specialist at the Education Center. And kudos from the director read as follows. Blasa is passionate about supporting our most vulnerable youth and their families. She has consistently demonstrated a commitment to meeting students and families wherever they are. As a result, Blasa has been able to reconnect countless students and families with support and services that they may have in the past declined. Congratulations to Ms. Osuna. Our next honoree is Mr. William Brown, English and Journalism teacher at Piedmont Hills High School. And kudos from his principal read as follows. Long ago, I had the pleasure of co-teaching the AVIT elective with Will. So I know firsthand how passionate he is about teaching and how dedicated he is to our students. Will is very equity-minded, even going as far to volunteer to take the Grading for Equity course on top of everything else that he is doing right now. He is a strong voice in IST 504 and IEP meetings and is consistently looking for ways to support his students through distance learning. He has figured out how to teach journalism virtually and has made sure that Piedmont Hills High School is still putting out our school newspaper. Congratulations to Mr. Brown. Next, we have Abby Carson, special education teacher at Independence High School. And kudos from her principal state, as a new teacher, Ms. Carson has been able to build strong relationships with their students and staff, working to make her classroom inclusive and inviting for all. She has also jumped in as a soccer coach for our students and as a member of School Site Council. Her positivity is apparent, and she takes great pride in supporting her students both in and out of the classroom. Our next honoree is Mr. Nathan Anderson, physical education teacher at Oak Grove High School. And his principal says the following. Nate Anderson's friendly demeanor and his drive to help others makes him a valued member of the Oak Grove team. Nate works tirelessly to provide opportunities that benefit our students and our community. One such example is hosting a free bike repair event in partnership with Turning Wheels for Kids, where over 40 families were able to get their bikes repaired. Additionally, Nate has worked with organizations to have over 100 bikes donated to our students and their younger siblings, with some being donated to the district to distribute at the McKinney-Vento holiday event. Since Nate started at Oak Grove, he has worked hard to ensure our campus was viewed in the most positive way possible, and that our entire student population was supported in and out of the classroom. Nate, thank you for everything you do for our students and our community. Congratulations to Mr. Anderson. Our next staff honoree is Natalie Cepeda, Parent and Community Involvement Specialist at the Education Center. And kudos from her director read as follows. Natalie has a heart for the community and the families she serves. Natalie not only provides information about resources, but she continuously walks side by side with students and their families through the process of accessing these supports and resources. Her heart, passion, and patience has resulted in finding housing, food, and shelter for several families during the pandemic. Our next honorees are the entire counseling program at Evergreen Valley High School. Our school counselors are Laura Soloff, JD Doe, Rainey Kang, Laya Broomberg, Swan Nguyen, Heidi Boyd, and Noemi Witron. And the principals, kudos for the team are as follows. At Evergreen Valley, the academic counselors are absolutely essential towards making all students feel like they belong and can be successful at Evergreen Valley High School. They not only help ensure our students are set up for success academically, they also work to support our students socio-emotionally as well. I am so touched when I hear from students how much they value their relationship with their counselor and how much of an impact they've had on their students' lives. What is particularly impressive about our counseling department is just how adaptable they have been during distance learning. The counselors have held several webinars and other Zoom sessions for students and parents. These sessions have attracted thousands of attendees, and through each of them, the counselors have patiently answered every question and helped to alleviate student and parent anxiety. I know I speak for the entire Evergreen Valley High School community when I say we are so thankful for our counselors. Congratulations to the counseling team at Evergreen Valley High School, and congratulations to all our honorees this evening.
Well, excellent. I also want to appreciate all teachers, counselors, PCs, have worked very hard to support our students. And kudos to all of those awardees. That I can say enough that we have very, very good staff, teachers, and everyone work together to help our student. For Miss Mary Gillen, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and the Board of Trustees, I have worked with Mary for such a long time, and I know that I really appreciate her work because sometimes Mary and I, we text or we email each other like after 1 a.m. I'm a night person. and Mary and I say, okay, well, this one is done and this one is out. So I really appreciate Mary for all your hard work. And we counted on you. A lot of stuff that without you, we probably get lost. So I'm open up for all my board colleagues to say any comments to our the staff and teachers, counselor, and even though our executive secretary.
Just great appreciation for each one of them. And I'm so glad that we're taking this moment to acknowledge them. And I know there's a greater story behind the very brief comments made. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be brought forward in this way. But thank you to each one of them. And of course, anyone who works with Mary Gillen, as we are privileged to do. It's I'm always in amazement at how much she holds and how well she does it. It also amazes me how late she will send an email and how early she'll respond to one. I think, Mary and our board president, Von Lay, both must get like 4 hours of sleep a night, but thank you to all. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Herrera. Any other board member?
If I may, first of all, I am so impressed with Mary. Ever since my first day on the board, I have never ceased to amaze how hard she works, how effective and how efficient she is. And like my colleague would say, whether I send her an email at 2 in the morning or 6 in the morning, she responds. Surprisingly, quite often within 15, 20 minutes after I send it. So I am thoroughly impressed with how hard she works and how effective she is. So all the other awardees, I have not had privilege to work with you. I hope I will have a chance to get to know you better and work with all of you. Because if you're in the same category as Mary, you must be very impressive at what you do. So thank you for all the things that you do for our students. And I look forward to learning more about you. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Doe. Any other board member? I don't see anyone raise hand.
Madam President, I'll just add that I guess we're not all very good role models if we're sending Mary emails at 2 a.m.
All right, I know we have worked hard. All right, thank you for
I'm included in that too.
Oh, you- Thank
I
you.
don't send texts that late, but emails, hey, whenever they wake up, they can read them.
Yeah, I know his email, we work in that way. All right, so if I don't have anyone to speak on 6.01, so let's move to 6.02, teaching during distance learning. Mr. Fang?
Yes, so we have two teachers that would like to share one of their experiences of distance learning and how they work so hard to engage our students through distance learning. As we all know, it is a challenge to do that. So looking here, first on, we have Ms. Catherine During. Would you like to do a quick introduction before we start the video? Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello.
Fantastic.
Hi. I'm not sorry. I didn't have anything prepared to say. It's just I really enjoy getting to know my students, and so I spend a lot of time in class with just one-on-one like check-ins. Sorry, not one-on-one, whole class check-ins where I ask them a question and everyone has a chance to respond, whether out loud or through the chat. So you don't see that check-in portion in this video, but that is what I spend a lot of my time with. And so I think that allows me to have some a lot more engagement with my students because they have a buy-in in terms of like a personal relationship that we have.
Great.
All right, let me start the video for you.
Hi, my name is Catherine During. I teach Math 1 at Mount Pleasant High School. In this lesson, we are we are reinvestigating graphing lines in slope-intercept form because I noticed a lot of my students were still struggling with this concept. And so I am doing a re-engagement activity that on a Desmos. So I'll show you in just a moment. All right, guys. So I have started the recording. Thank you for being with me during this time. When we do our next activity, I noticed I was a little bit surprised about how much some of you were struggling with the material with graphing and finding equations. So when something gets hard, that doesn't mean we stop doing it, right? We have to do it more. So I have another Desmos activity for you. And so here's what it's going to look like. I have shared this on our Google Classroom, and so I can see when you guys get started. So thank you for Giselle for opening it. But for right now, I don't want you guys to open it quite yet because I want to take you through the steps so you can see what you're supposed to do. So this is kind of like a game. What you're going to be doing is you're going to try to create equations and graphs that will allow the marbles to catch all of the stars that you see on your screen. So when I hit the launch button right here, you see the marbles drop down and catch all the stars, right? So this opening screen is just showing you what you want to have happen, right? So this first screen is just like that. The second screen, here's the marbles and here's our slide and our stars are down here. So what's gonna happen if I launch the marbles? Can anyone make a prediction? If I hit the launch button, here's my marbles, here's my slide, and here's the stars. Yes, Apollo, they're gonna roll. Thank you. They for sure will roll. Are they gonna catch the stars?
They're not gonna get to the stars?
They're not gonna get the stars. So I'm gonna launch it. Boom, there they go, rolling down the slide. But what's the problem? The slide is above the stars. So the instructions here say change one number in the equation to fix the marble slide. So what can we change? The equation says y equals half x plus 1. How can we change it so that it catches the stars? Which value should we change? Should we change the 1/2 or should we change the plus 1? What do you guys think?
Oh no.
And this is really just like a game. And if you're not sure, we can just experiment. And we can try changing one with something. All right, Giselle says change it to
It's the one.
Okay, what can we change the 1 to become? How should we make the 1 different?
Change it by 4 or to 4.
Change it to 4? Not sure if that helped. Giselle says change it to -4. So take away the plus and change it to -4. Okay. Is that going to help us? Let's see. No, now they go too far down. So what else can we do? Or how else can we change it? I like that you guys aren't changing the slope of the line, right? So we kind of agreed that the slope of the line, the direction it's going, we like that direction. We just need to move it up or down. So what is the number? What is this number that we're changing?
Sorry, a little cringy, but I do try to get.
My name is Captain During.
Yep. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, it's so cringy to watch myself teach, but I have to give my students a lot of kind of like think time, and someone gave me a very nice compliment. Thank you. Yes, it is a lot of encouragement. They have a hard time sharing ideas, and getting them to share them out loud is hard too, but I think with encouragement and with a little help and a little prodding, they do get there eventually.
Do you find that they tend to respond more in the chat than verbally?
Oh, 1,000% more. Yes, absolutely. They definitely engage more in the chat than out loud.
So if some student did not want to engage, how could you support them? Because not every, in your classroom, 30, 32 students are willing to or have the same pace of learning. So how did you support, the one that probably, could not catch up with all of this distance learning process?
I do pre-recorded lectures. So I don't do live teaching. I do pre-recorded lectures, and I do mostly a flipped classroom model. So when they come to, they're supposed to watch the video before they come to class. So then when they come to class, they're able to, I help them with their homework assignments. So that way I can monitor their understanding as they are working on problems. So when it comes to them watching the video lectures, I can monitor and I can see who's watched it and who hasn't watched it. And then when they work on their homework assignment, same, I can see who's working on homework and who's not. And then I can check in with the students more individually, and then having my classroom set up in that way is what allows me to have that check-in time with the morning, because then I don't feel that pressure of I need to get through this, all of these slides or all of this lecture during class time. So it helps me out that way.
Yeah, I say that you guys, teacher, are very be creative and patience to work with a student during the pandemic. So I really appreciate, your time.
Thank you.
Any other board member has any question with teacher Catherine during?
Mr. Doe, did you get yours answered? I think you had your hand up.
I did. I actually responded on the chat, by the way. I actually prepared the chat as well.
Okay. All
okay.
right.
I had my hand up too. Miss During, is that how you pronounce your last name? During?
During, yes.
During. Thank you so much for presenting and sharing with us like a day in the shoes of a teacher during COVID. Teaching is hard. It is hard as heck. One of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. And so I just want to say thank you for putting yourself out there and really bringing the classroom to us, right? I know just being and thinking about what does teaching look like has been really top of mind for me. So I appreciate having it in the space that we're already in and you just sharing with us and just putting it out there. There's a lot of great moves here, and just thank you for continuously also believing in our kids and not giving up and saying, we're gonna redo this. It didn't stick the first time, so we're gonna do it again. And I'm gonna wait, I'm here with you. So just thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Lorena Chavez. How about Board Member Patty Cotizzi?
Yeah, thank you. I just really wanted to acknowledge and appreciate you for the energy that you bring. I mean, I know, I've heard from teachers how it's so difficult to teach to this, screen full of blank squares, and yet that didn't deter you at all. I mean, your energy, you're engaging, you're energetic, you made it a game. I mean, really, that's what a blessing to have that for our kids. Thank you so much for hanging in there with them and, making the best of this situation. Right on.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, yeah, go ahead, Bruce.
We have one more. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Bruce.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bruce.
So I'm a student, first of all, and I'm really supportive of like all the things that teachers try to do to motivate us and to get us to do a lot of the things that we need to learn. So, and in saying that, I think a lot of the things that come with turning our cameras on is just pressure. Like we have social anxieties, we have we're generally shy, and I love that teachers are trying to work around that and to acknowledge that some of us don't like to have a bad hair day, or some of us might have a messy room and all of those types of things. I really appreciate that. And I, for one, I would say that I don't turn my camera on sometimes because not everyone else does. I don't want to seem like the only person to do that. That's also another thing. So yeah, a lot of the things that you and the rest of the teachers are doing are really, really great for us. And yeah, I definitely agree with using the chat. A lot of my classes actually use the chat. It's a really active space. It's a really broad and open environment for us to communicate our problems and everything. So thank you.
Awesome, Bruce. Anyone else, Chris Funk? No?
No, I see Trustee Herrera.
Yes, Mr. Herrera, go ahead.
So ditto to the comments that have been made, but the thing that most touched me was there's an obvious care and belief that the students can learn, even when they're struggling. It comes through your stand as a teacher to stand and deliver, to really teach. And I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome board member comments. So we're going to move to the second teacher, right, Chris Funk?
Absolutely. We now have Melissa Marfia Rosa here to present. Good evening, Melissa.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Would you like to do a quick introduction before we start the video?
I did not present or didn't have anything to thought about it before, but yes, I can. We say much like Catherine or Miss During. I spend quite a bit amount of time, probably a good 10 minutes in the beginning of class, really having fun and sometimes playing music and like guess the tune and what was the high school song of today from when I was in high school, just to kind of loosen them up and get them interested, because literally you can't teach to somebody who doesn't care about you. So it's a really, a good 30% of what I do is just building connections, and, giving them slack about not having their cameras, and just like meeting them where they're at is mostly even more true today in COVID than it is any other day. So.
Would you like to highlight one of those high school songs?
Actually, so I was talking to them about the fact that we might not come back to school because they teach 100% of seniors, and they are really, they're getting to this point where it's February, and what is the point and the motivation of doing any work at this point? They're probably going to graduate if they don't do nothing, and it's just like really depressing. I feel really awful for them that they're missing all of the activities and all of the stuff. So I had them do like a vent, like a rant session, and I played kind of emo songs from 1997 when I graduated, and one of them was like the semi-charmed kind of life, which was really fun. And it really matched the theme of, I wanted something better than this. And they kind of like really appreciated that thematic connection.
Excellent, thank you. All right, here's the video.
Hello, my name is Melissa Marcia-Rosa, and I'm doing a recording about a lesson that I taught for virtual teaching in which I engaged students with reading an article and asking questions and critically engaging in a discussion about the way in which our distractions from our cell phones may be contributing to some serious issues. So the students are going to read several articles about this and then write an opinion piece. So today we're reviewing the pre-activity and then we're going to start reading the article as a class. So first of all, they did a distraction tracker. So over 48 hours or so, they tracked how many times their phone alerted them, saying like, "Hey, come pick me up, come talk to me, come look at my app." And they just did tallies for as many times as their phone tried to engage them. And then they also tracked how many times they absentmindedly reached for their phone to try to, get boredom alleviated. And so this is what we're discussing in class today. When we first came in, we talked about going to a Jamboard. So each group went to a Jamboard and we asked these questions. How many tallies did you have? And then we ended up with like 500 in a group and 200 in another group. And in other classes, it was thousands. And then we asked them, what did you think about that number? What did you notice, or did you see any patterns? But mostly we started the article, The Lost Art of Concentration. And we read the article together. The students made notes in class as we chatted. So I can actually see that they're annotating inside the document when
Am I the only one who lost sound?
Yeah,
I can't hear it either.
Yeah.
It also notes that there are questions at the end. So this isn't a very long article. We got through most of it in class. And at the end, they're going to identify the main claim, the rhetorical situation of the piece, how the author is trying to convince the reader, and ultimately, which is the most important part down here, things that they think really need to be discussed. And I'll take these questions and put them into an online forum in Google Classroom, where they will put their opinions and we'll have a really rich discussion there. But the rest of this lesson is how we noted what to say and what and how to identify important information as we read together. And that's what the clip of student engagement will be about. What other patterns were noticed by people? This is an open question for anybody who'd like to ping in. What patterns did you notice?
I noticed that I had a lot more reaches than I did have alerts. Yeah.
I feel like before
I can see you on that. I'm definitely a reacher.
I started to notice how it's just like the moment that nothing is happening, you just immediately go and do things. So it's kind of surprising how it doesn't even take that long for you to just go and do something else. You can just be walking down the stairs and you can just be like, oh, I'll just take out my phone, or even something as just going to the fridge, or getting up from your chair, you just immediately just take out your pocket and get your phone out, and just second. No, it's like a second instinct. What is it called?
Second nature.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah.
I think I noticed that although I didn't have as many distractions where I seeked entertainment. I think it's because my distractions lasted for like a lot longer. They weren't like 5 or 10 minute distractions. I had a distraction where I think I ended up watching Netflix for like 2 hours.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was pretty bad.
Was that from your phone or from your computer?
It was like from my computer where I was like, you know, I'll just take like a little break and watch some Netflix. I'll watch like one episode and then I just kept going because I couldn't stop.
Was it Bridgerton?
Our group noticed that we cumulatively got more alerts than reaches. And I sort of associated this with our phones like constantly tempting you to check it and get distracted. So the more or the less notifications you kind of set on your settings, the less likely you're like going to get distracted.
What else did you guys notice?
For me personally, I noticed that like even while I was in one distraction, I searched for more. So like, for example, like I went to watch Netflix instead of like do work or something, but even while I was watching Netflix, I like opened up my phone again.
Oh, interesting.
I think for me, writing it down and sort of tallying each time I got distracted kind of ruined the momentum, because usually when I open YouTube or something and I watch like one video, I usually tend to follow it up with more, and the procrastination gains momentum. But while I was like recording this on paper, I was less likely to do it more.
I think,
Oh, sorry, go Tiana.
okay. I think when I realized I needed a distraction, that was when I needed a break. So instead of going on my phone, I found other things to do. Like I baked cookies yesterday instead of just going on TikTok.
Oh.
Like I didn't really restrict myself because I was curious as to how like I actually did it without being mindful.
To reduce distractions. And Alex, you said you'd read the first paragraph?
Yeah. It is difficult to imagine life before our personal and professional worlds were so dominated and switched on via smartphones and the other devices that make us accessible and crucially so easily distractible and interruptible every second of the day. This constant fragmentation of our time and concentration has become the new normal to which we have adapted with ease, but there is a downside. More and more experts are telling us that these interruptions and distractions have eroded our ability to concentrate.
Excellent. Okay, so we're looking for a main idea. It doesn't look like there's any evidence right here, so we could do main ideas or maybe some connections, or even some questions. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think about it, and then I'll ask for volunteers. The second half of the article, I'm going to call on people to make sure you're practicing. All right, that was 30 seconds. Who can tell me what's important to note here, or a connection or question?
I think the end of the last sentence, these interruptions and distractions have eroded our ability to concentrate. I think that's the main idea, or like, yeah, main idea of the article that's going to lead into what they're going to talk about next.
Okay, what they're going to prove. What else can we say about this paragraph or note?
I think the main one is we use phones a lot, which fragments our time and concentration.
Okay, so constant fragmentation of our time and concentration. There's a really interesting word, fragmentation. So it's like portions out. A very important word for this author to use, fragmentation. I would like underline it or bold it or something like that. But it's interesting because we only have a fragment of concentration, right? A small portion. What else did students did you note?
I noted that he said this is the new normal.
Nice.
Okay. Any questions we can come up with? Under the surface questions, you've been practicing those.
I wonder if this type of like distraction was present like back then, because like I'm pretty sure like people didn't just like sit around all day. Maybe they like looked at the newspaper or like turned on the radio and just like did something.
Oh, okay. So that's a really great question. I like how you started with I wonder. So the professional okay, so distractible and interruptible every second of the day, it seems like the part that you're questioning. Maybe, and also this idea of a new normal. So that is a good question. Have people in the past been distracted in the same way that we are?
All right. Wow. That's amazing. Thank you, Melissa, for sharing your teaching experience in the classroom to us. And I know very impressive. I myself thinking about, even though adult also get distracted, even though we are in the meeting and no phone call or text would coming or email, right? And it's not that easy. I mean, talking about, student that using the technology behind the Zoom, and they have to concentrate it, and they have to, follow with the, the structure and the lecture that you gave out, in the classroom. So I really impressed, and thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
It's very great. But my question is, how do you notice which student that got distracted and you bring them back to your lecture?
Sorry, my daughter's in here.
That's okay.
I need you to okay, that's beautiful. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, so how do I notice which students are distracted inside
Yes.
of my own class?
Of your classroom. Yeah, your own classroom.
Gotta tell you, I don't know. But what I do is I have I can kind of show you. I keep track of who speaks in every single class, and check pluses are, like they said something, and then like a plus means that it had evidence or some sort of connection or something like that. And then I have a column that says students to call on, because they may not check in on chat on their own, or they might not volunteer verbally. And so there's kind of a lot of paperwork going on my side, just to make sure that I, have caught everyone. So like I'll call somebody and I say, oh, we haven't heard from so-and-so, what's something that you notice? And if they're like, MIA, then I'll send them an email. But for the most part, I have to say that I connect. Something is either in the chat or in verbal from every student by the end of the week.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other board member? Oh yeah, I saw Patty Cortese raise her hand. Go ahead, Patty.
Thank you. This was really incredible to watch you in action. I love that, you're teaching English, obviously, and how to, analyze this article and whatnot, but you chose something that was so relevant to them and really put them right in the middle of the analysis. They're gathering data on themselves. They're, developing that skill of self-awareness, which is extraordinary. I suppose this is a lesson that could be as effective in a regular classroom, but what a perfect thing to offer on distance learning.
Actually, it's funnier during the regular year, because instead of having them do it at home, I have them turn their phones on loud on all their alerts and put them on the desk. And then I teach a grammar lesson, which is totally unrelated. right? So we do it on a Wednesday when I teach grammar, and they're supposed to be paying attention to the grammar, and then we're just constantly interrupted. And it's kind of interesting because you have 35 phones that are all binging at different times. And I'm
Oh
like,
my
what? You
gosh.
can't focus like this.
Yeah. Really great. Really great. Thank you for sharing what you do with us.
Awesome. Any other board member has any comments?
Trustee Doe?
Yes.
Yes.
I thought the presentations that you showing us the video, that was just absolutely brilliant. I love that you do not let this pandemics affect your teachings. Obviously, you changed your style to accommodate it, but you approach with such enthusiasm and energies, and the subject is so relevant, whether that's an English class or as a motivational class or a management training class. I can see those elements can be translated, and you are teaching your students to be self-aware of their own distractions, and how one of the comment one of the students make was, even while she was being distracted, she would seek all the distractions. While she's watching Netflix, she's looking at her phone, and I can see that happen to all of us in many respects. Right? We multitask to try to get a lot of things done. We get distracted by all the distractions, and so and how complex life is, and that you take that that lesson to your students as such. I mean, I'm speechless. I'm so impressed by that. And but I do want to say, you don't have to apologize for your child distracting you. My daughter does it. They all do it all the time. They hop on my lap in meetings while I'm having this meeting with the board meeting. So I sympathize and I empathize, and I hope to see more of your work.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Board Member Herrera?
Just want to add my appreciation. It's moving to me, and I know to my colleagues, to go into the classroom, with you and with our other staff who make presentations, because we otherwise are just too remote. But this is giving us a feeling and a flavor, not just of the challenge, but of the creativity that is being brought forth, especially during this pandemic. And so kudos to you. Thank you so much for your work.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Madam President, we have one attendee, Ani Kalahasti. You may speak, please. You just have to unmute yourself.
Yes. Hi. It was really nice to see all the students talk. I just wanted to know, is the district, could the district like maybe do a survey of the students to get a broader idea of what the students are feeling? Maybe I've missed it. I'm a senior parent at Silver Creek High School.
Thank you, Annie, for your comments. We will, Mr. Superintendent will take your comment, and we'll work on that. But I think, is any other board member have any comment before we move to item 7? But I would like to say, yeah, go ahead, Board Member Herrera.
Well, I just want to acknowledge the parents' comment right now, and it's a valid a request, and to me, it doesn't take away from how our staff is heroically meeting this extraordinary challenge. It wouldn't take away to discover through a survey that students are struggling, that this is not easy, and that maybe some suggestions will surface in that kind of a survey. But I think it's just valid to be interested in perspectives, for what's being experienced. And we're hearing from our frontline staff, teachers, and at some point it would be interesting to hear from our students, similarly. Thank you.
Go ahead.
If I may, I'm curious how, from the perspective of our students, to see what they consider to be the best practice that they have seen at various different classes they have, not just math, English that we're seeing here, but perhaps they have other experience that we have not had the privilege of knowing yet, of learning that. So I love to see and hear about that from their perspective. So whether it's in the format of survey or some sort of discussion group or forum, that would be a good way for us to learn what have all the teachers have learned to adapt and to improvise during this pandemic.
Thank you.
Bruce,
board
did you have your
members.
hand up?
Me.
Oh,
Who did you say, Mr. Funk? Sorry.
I thought I saw Bruce's hand up.
Oh,
He made a comment on the chat, but did you have your hand up, Bruce?
No, but if you would like me to elaborate on like the student perspective, I would like to talk about that as well.
Yeah, go ahead, Bruce. I think it's important.
Yeah, I think it's really important to ask these important questions that pertain to how students are doing within their classes, and not just the regular surveys that may be issued in the form of panoramas, right? We need questions that talk about how students are feeling, how students like some of the nuances that students face. You know, some of the intricate details that day-to-day students might be asked about. That would be really important for the district to know. I, for one, you know, can definitely see that we would want more resources for mental health, for example. Some of us don't really have the inclination to ask our school about these things, but if the school were to reach out to us a bit more in the form of like asking these important questions, right? I think that would provide a better benefit.
awesome comments. Board Member Chavez, do you have some comment? Go ahead, Marina.
Yeah. I was going to say, so this section speaks to 6.02 teaching during distance learning. Mr. Funker, 7.02 is student work during distance learning. Perhaps that could also be part of, since there's already some space and time allotted to it. I don't know, to speak from the experience and what some students feel is working as well. I don't know if that's already part of it, but I noticed that. I don't know if that was the intent.
All right. Any other comments? I received something that Patty said that Associate Superintendent Teresa, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I just want to mention to the board and our community that the survey we recently sent out asking questions around their level of comfort with possibly returning the last 6 weeks, which superintendent's going to review at one of the items. It did ask 2 open-ended questions, and one of them was, what is working for you when it comes to distance learning, and what are some challenges that you are facing? So we do have some data that was collected from certificated, classified staff, as well as students and parents. And so we do have a number of free responses that we're still gathering that do give us some insight as to some of the things that are working from student perspectives as well as parent perspectives.
That's awesome. Thank you, Associate Superintendent Teresa Marcus. I myself feel that this item 6.02, I know that I'm the one that approached Superintendent Chris Fung to bring this item, to our agenda, because I'm really interested to learn more from the teaching experience or process, during distance learning. And I think I probably also would like to request to see the athletic director or teacher to show the experience. How would they approach? How would they teach student during the PE class? So something that I probably would like to see maybe in the next few meetings. But I think this is awesome, and I really appreciate all of the teachers have worked very hard during the distance learning, and you guys have to be amazing job that you have to be creative, patience, and very impressive when I heard about all of this experience and teaching in the classroom. Any other board member comments or any other parents comments? Then if not, then we move to 7.01. Bruce Nguyen, Student Governance Board Representative. Bruce, go ahead and take away.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So once again, I'm here to talk about some of the activities of the Student Governing Board and some of the ideas students have come up with in terms of combating some of the issues with distance learning, as well as in their day-to-day activities at school. So if I'm able to share my screen, I would like to showcase some of the solutions that some of our students in the district have come up with.
Sure.
Thank you. And then I need access to that or permissions to do that. Thank you.
And Bruce, please afterwards send it to Mary Gillum because this has to be part of the public record.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So starting with some of the goals that the Student Governing Board holds. First of all, we want to make sure that the spring semester survey is distributed across each of the school sites. And then by that, I mean, we want each student to share the link to the survey to their peers, their friends, and for parents to also fill out the parental version as well. We want to make sure a lot of our stakeholders are able to interact with what the district puts out. So that's our priority right now. And then we moved on to working with the task forces. So we have the IPC task force, we have the reopening task forces. But for the first two, we have yet to hear from any updates. So we're looking to hear from our representatives after they meet in the future. But with the diversity task force, so this is one of our previous meetings we held last week. So we had a few discussions about the reports that they filled out for the discussion. I showed you that last time. We discussed some of the ways that the district should highlight the achievements of civil rights because it is indeed Black History Month. What are we doing to represent our communities, and particularly marginalized groups? So, and then I had our group perform a Jamboard activity. So there was something they shared about something from their school. Some people say that, you know, at our in our leadership groups, student leadership groups, it is a bit disproportionate. A majority of the positions, like for ASB and for clubs, are taken by a majority Asian population, which I would say, you know, we can see that a lot of this group may be academic focused. They see more opportunities, but we want to also identify ways to make sure that these opportunities are available to other groups as well. I believe that is a more equitable approach, and we want to continue identifying the causes that you know, why many of many of these groups wouldn't be interested in running for these ASB as well. And then same for AP courses. We want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to take these classes as well. And then yeah, it is seen throughout that a majority of the activities at school are held by Asian Americans, and you know, we want to make sure resources are available to BSUs. Let's see. So yeah, that was one of the key things that we identified. We want to make sure that everyone has access to counseling, and to ensure that counseling is something that people don't feel pressured to, or discriminated. We had a few accounts here. Within our task force, we discussed ways to reduce microaggressions. We wanted to make sure that classroom environments are as neutral as possible, and that discussions are held in the best light. For example, we need to make sure there are more Black and Brown literature used in English classes and history classes. And some of the responses also talked about civil rights as well. Some teachers may hold like insensitive ideas when discussing, and it may single out a few students within that class, and that's what we have seen here. So yeah, it's definitely important to make sure representation is on our campuses, and to be aware of how to share our backgrounds together. So with that said, we would like to pretty much have a more intuitive involvement in creating ethnic studies and other courses, and hopefully some of these issues are resolved with better training and better awareness of how their students feel, because not a lot of students are able to vocally express how they feel, but internally they do hold some of these feelings. So with that said, I also want to discuss some of the other things. We want to revise some of the bylaws within our own SGB. So we're opening up a committee for that. So by the end of this month, expect to have some sort of approval on the bylaws, and perhaps for the board to also approve as well. And then to also address mental health, let me go back to another slide. Mental health, this is something that we've always constantly wanted to improve. We've seen how social media, how distance learning affects mental health, and particularly, you know, being sheltered inside for long periods of time provides a really big issue. And yeah, we want to have access to social workers and counselors. One of the highlights I wanted to talk about at my school is how counselors are basically are contacting their ASBs and showcasing their programs, their outreach to students, and just making sure that, you know, they're really friendly with different students. So at lunch today, they made a live stream to, I would say, 50 students at Independence High School to talk about ways to combat depression, to handle relationships. That's something I want to see happen, you know, to create a more interactive counseling community. And then to promote, so yeah, definitely to promote equitable student communities. And then to involve SGB in different places like the school site council and MTSS, we're definitely going to revise a couple of policies within our bylaws to make sure that, yeah, there are definitely members to, you know, jot down a few things they witness at their school, bring it back to us. We talk about it, discuss, and then we bring it back to each school in order to ensure that each campus improves. With that said, I believe that's all of the things that each of our school sites have discussed. We are continuing to meet with the diversity task forces and the other committees later this month. So we'll continue to update with you on that. Some of the other things that that came up to me from other students is to elaborate on, like, definitely on civil rights. So I would say for the most part, we learn about MLK, we learn about Rosa Parks, right? But do we learn about all of the other figures that were important in civil rights? Did we elaborate on Malcolm X or Emmett Till? And we also wanted to understand, like, what were their ideologies as well. I think it's important to see their backgrounds and perspectives, and to better mold our curriculum and to shape it. Because we also want to take a look at, like, the actions of these individuals. It's not about having a speech, it's also about what they did. And to talk about the Black Panthers would also be really valuable. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of the factors that might be important for the creation of ethnic studies. So I just wanted the board to listen to that. Yeah, and then are we doing enough to improve on mental health? What kind of programs? So some of the things that came out to me was, like, are we practicing mindfulness enough? I understand teachers like in calculus are practicing mindfulness before tests are conducted, but I believe those values can be translated into other classes too. And physical fitness too. Are we doing yoga? Are we taking breaks? Are teachers mandating these things? And ways to manage stress, because a lot of students are overwhelmed at this point. Schoolwork is all online. We stare at screens all day. It's something to de-stress and to wind down a bit. So one solution I would propose is a survey to pretty much encompass all of the things that students feel at this point. So that's what I want to leave with. So I hope the board can see our perspective as students and to find a better solution and to work around some of the obstacles we face constantly. So thank you for listening to the students, and we hope to, you know, continue doing our best really in these times. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Well, that's amazing report, Bruce. There's a lot of work. So I really commend all of you, you know, on your board that work very hard. I can see a lot of idea that we, as the board, we probably won't want to see, and how can we support all of the students. One question that I was wondering is, your group, as well as, you know, student board, governance board, did you guys other outside activity during weekend, or you guys curious to see how you guys have any other activity outside?
So correct me if I'm wrong, your connection was a bit weird, but were you asking on how we conduct our activities after school?
Outside, yeah, after school and weekends.
So a lot of that part is, yeah, definitely after school. We keep a schedule of what days we want to meet. That's usually scheduled on Google Calendar or something along those sorts for us to stay organized. So the student advisory board definitely meets after school. I would say for some students right after school. So hopefully it isn't too much of something overwhelming for them, basically. But for a lot of us, yeah, we do that on top of other clubs. We do that on top of other commitments. And I think by performing a service like for advocating for students, I think it works out in the end.
That's awesome. And I hope that you guys manage your stress during the school year and just spend a bit of time during the spring break or take a time to, some sport like hiking or, open for board members, board member Patty Cortese.
Thank you. I just, thank you for the presentation, Bruce. And I just want to let the board know that this is the most active student governing board we've had. They actually requested a 2-hour training on implicit bias for their entire board this week that I got to be part of. So really, really great.
Awesome.
Thank you for that. Your leadership.
Yes. Go ahead, board member Lorena Chavez.
Yes. Bruce, it's always so nice to just hear what's top of mind, top of heart for you all, to see everything come into fruition. The first data take that y'all took from the diversity task force. I know more is coming, but it's just so cool to see you all look at, the learnings and, hearing how a lot of that matches up with what we've been talking about, but just hearing it from the student perspective and voice is so powerful. So that was so exciting for me to hear. And thank you for the pushes too, saying like, I want this, we want this. We would hope that the board would bring more on Black History Month. I welcome those pushes and I thank you for them. So please keep doing that. And sorry, these kids are extra excited. They know that I'm talking. One thing that I wanted to invite you to think about is when you were sharing your thoughts on the diversity or some of the findings that you have from the diversity task force, you said something to the extent of like, we want to know why other groups don't want to run for ASB, for example. I don't know if that's what you meant or if you meant want to understand why that is the case. Because there are different reasons for that. And I know you know that, but the way that we share it like really matters, right? It could be like why maybe some groups or some students feel like they don't have access to it. What is underneath that? I think that changes the conversation. So I just wanted to invite you to think about it that way. Thank you so much for your work. This is impressive. As always, Bruce, thank you.
Awesome. Board member Chavez, any other board comments? If not, then we move. I
want to just second the emotion, member Chavez, that it's awesome as always. Emphasis on as always, because wow, there isn't a time that I'm not impressed by our student board representative, Bruce Nguyen. I vote for you for anything, man. Whatever you decide you want to be, I'm for it. President or governor or mayor or board member or venture capitalist, you just are teeming with talent, and I can feel your underlying passion and what have you. So man, you've set a high threshold here for student representation.
Awesome. Awesome, board member Herrera. Any other board member comments? If not, then we move to 7.02, student work during distance learning.
We have no items this evening.
All right. If not, then we move to Well, 8.01, we already asked any item be considered, discussed, and act out of an order indicator on the agenda as per schedule. We already have the item 15.01 to move to the next meeting already. So we move on to 9.01, public hearing. No item in 9.01. So we go to item 10.01. So member of public may address the board and is subject not on tonight's agenda. However, provisions of the Brown Act Government Code Section 54954.28 and 54954.3 precluded any action. As an agendized item, no response is required from the board of district staff and no action can be taken. However, the board may instruct the superintendent to agendize the item for a future meeting. Any person may address the board on any item on the meeting agenda. Person wish to address the board must fill out speaker request form via online submission. And your comment will be read out loud as part of the public meeting. Comments should be limited to no more than 1,000 characters in length. You may also raise your virtual hand in Zoom to request to speak. You will have 2 minutes to speak. Do I hear anyone would like to have any comments, Mr. Glenn Vanderzee, or anyone write any written comments?
We do have one public comment under attendees. Ms. Kalahiste, you're back on, please.
Yes, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak. My main concern is that students are going through so much. We totally appreciate what teachers are doing and what the board is doing. Everyone's going through a difficult time, but we would love to know, get some clarity on the reopening of schools, whether it is hybrid version or some form, because 1 year staying at home has taken a toll. And I myself am a teacher. I tutor students, and I have come across so many parents who said they have not stepped out of the house, and the kids are just, it's been really, really difficult. I'm sure you've heard this from every day you hear this, but it would be great to get some clarity on, what are the next steps that we could take to at least get a conversation going in terms of what parents and students are thinking, maybe through a survey, and then eventually see what can be done to reopen schools. This is, of course, a topic that's been discussed, I'm sure, by all of you at different forums. This is my first time being here. But yeah, definitely, I want to know when that would happen, at least a hybrid version for schools to reopen.
Well, thank you, Ms. Kalahiste, for your comments, and we acknowledge your comments. I believe that our superintendent will have some presentation on 11.01. So hopefully you can stay and have any question after that. So we will open the discussion later on.
We have one more, Mr. Sterling Leonard. Go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening, I should say. In hearing all this, I'm just thinking, I'm really impressed by what we saw with some of the teachers, but being a parent at home, we've had the opportunity to observe some teachers of my own child. And unfortunately, not every student is getting these really dynamic experiences in the classroom. And so I'm just want to make sure that there is ongoing training, and we're also looking at, if schools are not reopening in some realistic hybrid form, that we're looking at opportunities to give kids some grace. We've talked a lot about wellness, and I'm a parent at Silver Creek High School as well, and they're doing a wellness week this week, which is wonderful. But what the wellness week is doing, as Bruce discussed earlier, is teaching kids how to be less stressed, but they already have that information. What they need is more engagement. overwhelmingly, students are not turning on their cameras. They're not participating. Even in these really great teachers that we saw tonight, you really only heard from 3 or 4 students, as one of the board members mentioned. And so I'm just looking for some accountability and some opportunities for better engagement. And I don't know what those are, but I appreciate you having the ongoing conversation in that regard, and also looking at what our opportunities are going forward.
Yes, thank you, parent Sterling Lunny. We acknowledge your comments, and I don't think any other comments, right, Superintendent Funk?
Not here on Zoom. Mr. Vanderzee, any?
Madam President, there is no written public comment on this item.
All right, thank you. All right, so now we move to 11.01, which is presentation, information, discussion, and or action regarding update on novel coronavirus, COVID-19. Superintendent Funk.
Thank you, Madam President. And I do appreciate the 2 comments made by our parents. I will say that we have a current survey active, so please go to your email and search for that email from the district, but you can also access the survey on our homepage of the district website and or the homepage of your home school. It is for staff, students, and parents. Tonight, I want to give an update on COVID-19 and where we are as a district in terms of the impact of COVID-19 and certainly regarding distance learning. As we all are aware, we are still at the purple tier, which is the highest risk level. And although we are making great progress, as you can see, back on January 13th, we were at 1,133 new cases a day. And as, oh, you know what? This got cut off for some reason when we raised it as a PDF. We are now down to 500 new cases as of today. So we are definitely trending in the right direction. I apologize. This PowerPoint got cut off when it got uploaded. So we are definitely making progress, but we are still in the purple zone. In terms of looking at Santa Clara County, we also, you know what? Yeah, this is the wrong presentation. Let me stop sharing for a second. And let me go to the correct video. I apologize for that. Yeah, here we go. All right. I think I sent Mary the wrong one to upload. All right, so when you look at today, you can see that back on December 14th, we were at 1,200, and for a while there, after Christmas and New Year's, we got as high as 1,700 new cases a day, and you can see that we're down to 308 cases, but that still puts us in the purple tier here, which is still the most risky tier. When you look at that spike that happened in January, this spike is exactly what the scientists said would happen if families continued, if people continued to travel at Christmas and then gather for Christmas and New Year's. And we definitely had that huge spike in January, but you can see that it's starting to come down here in early February.
Superintendent, could I ask you to play it as a slideshow so it's bigger?
Absolutely.
There we go. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So you can see that in terms of the 7-day rate, it is starting to come down, and it's coming down significantly. And of course, when we were at the red tier, our current phase 2 was in progress, and we had teachers and students voluntarily coming in for support, in-person support. So I think once we get back to that red tier, more teachers and more students will be willing to come back on a voluntary basis. But the good news is we are trending in the right direction. And just as a reminder, we have a 4-phase reopening that the board has approved, as well as the reopening task force. And we are currently in phase 2. Phase 2 is it's voluntary. It's for our most at-risk students. It was based on the first 6 and then the 12-week grading period. The goal was to get to phase 3, and phase 3 would expand that to up to 500 students at any given time on a campus. But we're still a ways from phase 3. Phase 3, we need to get to the orange, and the full phase 4 is when vaccines are widely accessible. And as we know, and I'll speak to the vaccine in just a minute. So we're currently still in phase 2. And phase 2, we're still in the purple, and hopefully we'll get more teachers and more students to start coming back to campus for in-person support once we get to the red zone. When we talk about vaccinations, as I reported a couple board meetings ago, we are under phase 1B. In phase 1B, based on supplies, are for individuals 65 and older, and then these populations of education, childcare, emergency services, and food and agriculture. Just as of today, with our regular weekly phone call, the Santa Clara County Superintendents with Public Health, right now the state through and the county, based on their supply, is only at this level of individuals 65 and older. They have not started to offer vaccinations yet for school employees. The goal is by the end of the month, more vaccines will be available. And then the question will really be this. The medical providers like Kaiser, which is one of our providers, they are the largest healthcare provider in California, and they clearly have not been getting the proportionate supply based on the members that they serve. And the question will be, will employees have to go through their health provider, or will the county, if their supply lines increase, will they prioritize educators just like they have with people over 65 who can come to the county to get vaccinated? We will have to wait and see what happens. Probably the smartest move for employees will be is the first available dose that's available, whether it's through your health provider or through the county, is to try to get that appointment and get vaccinated as soon as possible. Any questions regarding the vaccine? All right. I want to refer to the reopening spring survey that went out just last week. It is ongoing. This is just results as of yesterday. And we have parents, students, certificated staff, and our classified staff. You see, as of yesterday, the number of responses, over 3,000 parents have responded, 1,400 students, almost 700 of our 1,200 certificated, and 142 of approximately 500 classified. And 2 specific questions: how comfortable would you be with returning to in-person, on-site instruction in a hybrid format for the last 6 weeks of school? And you can see with parents, 56.8% extremely uncomfortable or hesitant. Students, 56% extremely uncomfortable. Certificated staff, 73% extremely uncomfortable or hesitant, and classified, 73%. Second question, should our district remain in distance learning for this entire spring semester? 62% so far respond from parents. Almost 60% from students say yes. almost 80% from certificated said yes, and 78% from classified have said yes. Again, this survey is open and we'll keep it open probably through the winter break. We sent that survey out via School Loop. We sent it out through text messages, through robocall. It's posted on our homepage. It's posted on all schools' homepage. And of course, it all has been translated. So if you just want to look specifically at parents and where they have kids, whether they're in 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th grade, you can see the responses. And you can see the responses from the various schools. And again, just the breakdown of how comfortable would you be returning to in-person, on-site instruction in a hybrid format the last 6 weeks of school, and then whether or not we should remain in distance learning for the rest of the spring. And then for students, you can see the breakdown by responses by grade level. And for the first question on how comfortable they are returning to school and whether or not we should remain in distance learning for the remainder of the spring semester. For certificated, again, based by school, you can see the responses for certificated. You can see the position that they hold, and then their response to the 2 questions here. And if I'm going too fast, please tell me to slow down. And then for classified, again, based on the location that they work, the school that they're at, their role, and then their answer to the 2 questions here. Mind you, a lot of classified positions like our child nutrition workers, our custodians, they may not be accessing their email on a regular basis. And then the reopening task force met last Monday, the 1st. We reviewed our opening document, opening school document, which again is located on the homepage of the district web page. And after reviewing where we're at, after reviewing the current conditions and the slight changes from public health to the guidelines, the opening task force took the same survey. And as you can see, that 16% were extremely uncomfortable, 21% relatively comfortable, and then should we remain in distance learning, 84%, those responded, said remain in distance learning for the rest of the school year. So where we're at basically is that we're still in our phase 2 of reopening. It does not look like, based on the current survey, that people will be interested in coming back for a hybrid, even if people are vaccinated, and that'll be highly susceptible of having every employee vaccinated by the end of the school year. But I do believe as the conditions continue to go down, more and more teachers and students will voluntarily come back for in-person support. At this point, athletics is a go, depending on the sport and the colored tier that sport is allowed to happen. Right now for BVL, it's simply cross country for the first season that starts February 22nd. But some of those other sports, if we get to the red, may begin. And we do have the 3 seasons between now and the end of the school year. So I think things are progressing in the right direction. But I think based on what we're hearing from people that they are comfortable staying in distance learning for the rest of the year. We will be planning on having some sort of in-person hybrid approach to summer school to begin piloting, returning back to school. You know, I fully expect school to be back in person in the fall. But the task force has asked that they can be part of that discussion to see what the schedule may look like. And I informed them that I would bring that task force back together later this spring as we gather more information. So that is my report tonight. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Yes, Chris, do we have a survey for parents in this opening task force? Or just only?
Yeah, so the parents, let me go back to the parents. This was the parents from the different grade levels and from the different sites where the parents responded. So we had 3,071 parents at this point respond. Again, it was all translated in Spanish and Vietnamese. And you can see that 22% extremely uncomfortable and another 19% relatively comfortable. I'm sorry, the green, 31% is extremely uncomfortable, and the orange, hesitant and uncomfortable, is 24%. And then whether or not we should return or stay in distance learning the rest of the year, 61% said stay in distance learning for the rest of the year.
So if the level that the county will open up, if we shift from purple to orange on phase 3, do you think that with 6 weeks left at the school year, could we accommodate it, for the phase 3, or we still have to, wait for, the teacher have to be vaccinated, and, what are the pro and con?
Well, I think if we, when we talk about going to phase 3, I think phase 3 is simply an extension of phase 2, which at this point is voluntary.
Okay.
For staff, for teachers, and for students to come. So if we were to get down to the moderate or even to the yellow, I think more teachers would volunteer to come in and more students would come in, especially those teachers that are able to get vaccinated. I believe more will be willing to come in. I don't see phase 4 happening this school year. And phase 3, our position at this point and what the board recommended from the reopening task force is that it will not be mandatory this year. It will be voluntary.
Okay. And when is the time frame for the phase 3? The 6 weeks before school ended, which is around March, right?
Yeah, so, well, no, 6 weeks would be in April, mid-April. But it's all based, Madam President, on when the county gets to this tier. Okay. So it could take a month to get to this tier. It could take 3 more months. It all depends on when we reach that tier. Hopefully we don't have a spike locally after the Super Bowl. Hopefully there weren't a lot of gatherings this weekend and we all watched it in our own family pods and didn't go out to major parties. Okay. But we are trending, and if you look at the beginning of the first week of January to now, we have dropped significantly in terms of new cases per day. So we are moving in the right direction. Other questions?
Yes, I have my hand up, so I'll just talk. I appreciate the district doing the survey again. I think it's really important to get all the different perspectives. And on that note, I think it's going to be important that we really make sure that there's more responses from certain schools. Like there are some schools that have 47 parents responding versus others who have over 600, right? And those are, our district is very diverse. I want to make sure that we really understand what's top of mind and the experience of all of our communities across the board, because it's inherently more difficult for some versus others. And so I think something that's in our favor here is that it's a short survey, right? It's essentially a few questions. And so I wonder what I would take to get more creative. I know we're doing a lot, but what else can we do to get those voices at the table and make sure that they're represented as well in this decision?
Yeah, great question. And we just had our principals meeting today, and I did request that anytime a principal has one of their principal coffees, if their PCs runs any type of meeting, if their social workers, counselors have any meetings with parents, that they actually take the time to put the link into their meeting so that parents can take the survey right then and there, because it won't take long. It'll take 3 minutes. And again, we'll keep it open simply because the more data we get, the better I feel about the decisions that we make. But yes, we would like to see a greater balance of representation and representation from every single site. Madam President, I see Ms. Kalahasti has her hand up again.
Yes, please go ahead, Ms. Anasi.
Go ahead and unmute, please.
Yes. So the survey is pretty revealing. I would have expected maybe more students and more parents to say that they would want to go back to campus. So the point that was discussed earlier is so valid that the survey needs to be sent out maybe more often, and more parents have to participate, more students have to participate. So that will actually help us understand where, the entire community is. So my suggestion would be to maybe send out the survey through School Loop more often. Yes, it's on the website, it's on the PTSA website, it's on the school website, it's on the district website. But maybe sending it a little more often might help, and get more responses. And my second point is that, please excuse me, I'm not totally aware of what the rules are about, the county and the state in terms of COVID and reopening of schools. But I do see that private schools are opening up. So are the county rules different for private schools versus public schools? Because there are some schools that have opened up 5 days of the week. Some schools are doing hybrid. And if it's purely going by numbers, are private schools exempt from following the guidelines of the county?
No, the county has the same, the private schools have the same guidelines as public schools follow. I'll just remind you to put everything into context. If we were a K-12 district, I would have a different stance as superintendent for our primary grades, where the students are basically with a cohort of a single teacher throughout the day, and it's easier to maintain that cohort. Whereas in high school, as you know, your child has 6 or 7 different teachers. Class size is an issue when you have to keep 6 feet apart. That means we can only, in some classrooms, have anywhere from 8 students up to 12 students at a time. So you'd have to take a single period 1 and break it into 2 periods and maybe even 3 periods to actually accommodate the social gathering guidelines. So when you think about how complicated that would be at a high school with the number of offerings during first period, second period, and so forth, it's just way more complicated at the high school level than at the elementary level. And then also context matters where you live. In East Side, we have, at one point, we had 4 of the highest zip codes with the highest cases of COVID than any other zip codes in the county. So where another county may have a private school where the case rate was much lower than ours, it was much easier for them to make that decision to open up sooner than us.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. Do we have any other board colleagues' comments on this item 11.01? Any other comments from the community?
There's no written public comment on this item.
Okay. Thanks, Associate Superintendent Glenn Vanderzee. Okay. If we
May,
have more from the other-
sorry, I was a little slow in responding. I clicked on the raised hand.
Go ahead, Brian.
Superintendent Funk, would you be willing to report back on the next time we report on the same issues, on the increase or the improvement that we made in reaching out to schools that have not have as high rate of response to the survey?
Absolutely. We'll do that at the first board meeting in March. I think that's March 4th.
Thank you. We'd love to see how some of the other schools that have not been represented to be a little bit more responsive. If we can be creative or find some other way to reach out to them, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And Superintendent Funk, so we sent out a one-time survey to all parents in a school loop.
We did school loop, we did robocalls, we did text messages.
All right.
So they got 3 different notices.
All right. So if we're going to have another survey, another report back on March 4, so we probably going to send another reminder, another survey to parents and students.
Well, it will be the same ongoing survey, but yes, we will send it out again through text, through school loop, through the robocall. Just a reminder that the survey is still open.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mr. Funk. So, and then no more other question and comments. We can move to 11.02. Discussion and action regarding proposed draft community stakeholder impact statement. Board Vice President J. Manuel Herrera, please take it away.
Thank you, Madam President. So this has come before the board in a prior meeting, and actually it's been in our agenda packet since the fall of last year, but it's carried forward. The stakeholder impact statement proposed policy is about evolving our organizational processes and culture to be even stronger and clearer about the voice and the role of our stakeholders. As it says in the cover memo for this agenda item, that it's to further define and systematize how stakeholders are included in the formulation, and that's a key word, in the formulation, not in discussing something that's already been brought forward to the board, but how they are included in the formulation of policy program recommendations brought forward by the superintendent and the administration for the consideration of the Board of Trustees. So it has now been given the board's generally positive receptivity to this concept. My request this time was to reformat it now as a proposed new board policy, which the administration has done, putting it under the community relations part of our board policies, and given it the tentative number of board policy 1101. And titling it the 6 elements of the stakeholder impact statement. And so it's important to understand that this focuses on the processes of the administration when it's developing or formulating a proposal, an initiative. The board already has processes for stakeholder involvement that span the spectrum from public hearings to board study sessions and focus groups and whatever more is needed. The board, in the domain of the board, there's a pretty strong stakeholder dimension. And what this is focused on is on the domain of the administration and its processes. And in my long involvement as a school board member, now in my 31st year, what I've early on came to observe is that there's an unspoken code among administrators and superintendents that if something hasn't been seen by board members, it cannot be seen by the community by stakeholders, because it's still kind of in process or in formulation. That kind of traditional administrative culture is not wrong, but what this stakeholder impact process proposes is to turn the traditional administrative culture code on its head, to say that it ought to involve the community extensively before the board even sees it. It's not that the board wouldn't be aware of what is in process, but the board doesn't need to see, the administration wouldn't need to wait until there's a fully formulated proposal and brought forward publicly before stakeholders have an opportunity to get deeply involved. This actually requires that the administration follow processes that involves potentially impacted stakeholders pretty substantially. And so, once it goes through these 6 elements, then it comes to into the domain of the board with its stakeholder processes. Again, public hearings, potential study sessions or focus groups, all the steps needed to fully hear what the board needs to hear. If the board, in its reformatted, the way it's been reformatted now as a potential board policy, if the board, this is the first reading, if the board adopts it in the next meeting, in its second reading, that would then trigger the development of administrative regulations that'll make more clear the procedural details. How is a stakeholder impact process activated? Well, clearly the administration can initiate it, but I think when we develop the administrative regulations, it will also make a provision that stakeholders can request that it be activated and request that of the administration. And if the administration agrees, then it gets activated and they get to work on this. If there is not agreement regarding activating it, then I think what I foresee the administrative regs clarifying is that then it would be brought to the board, to make the call. Yeah, should, hear out what the thinking of the administration is, hear out what the thinking of the stakeholders are, and make the call, yes or no, activate these 6 elements of a stakeholder impact process. So the point here is that there are a lot of still procedural issues to be resolved, questions to be resolved, and they will be resolved subsequently in developing administrative regulations for implementing the policy if this is adopted. I'll close by saying that I appreciate Board Member Chavez proposed edit. She stated it verbally at the last meeting, and then we went offline to get clear with each other. And there are 2 versions of the policy in the packet materials. The first version is without the proposed language by Member Chavez. And the second one is with the proposed language, which is highlighted, I believe, in blue. I don't have it right in front of me. And she can speak more to that. I just want to say that, as I told Member Chavez, this is not a major issue for me on a scale of 1 to 10. This is like a 3 or maybe even a 2.75 on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm comfortable with whichever way it goes. For me, it's a matter of opinion. And in my opinion, this proposed stakeholder impact statement proposed policy is meant to be issue neutral and doesn't address any cause or issue, whether it be the district's core values of equity, inclusiveness, commitment to excellence, diversity, and professional capacity, or even the cause/issue/policy of building equitable communities. And again, my opinion is that the whole policy and and ideal of equitable communities is pretty strongly anchored in our district, thanks to the work of the superintendent and his team. And it will not suffer by not being included in the language of this process-oriented proposed policy. And with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Member Chavez, Board Member Chavez.
Gracias. Gracias. First off, I just want to say, Manuel, this is, and I've said this to you and I'll say it again, this is a work of art. You've worked on this and thought about this for a long time, and I really appreciate this. This is really powerful. And so I want to name that. I am not in disagreement, to your point, with this actual document. And I think actually this is one of the pieces of your work where you're showing your leadership, your voice in not only the values that you hold, but I think they're representative of values that we have as a board, where we really want to make sure that the voice of different stakeholders through different parts of the process are included. And in that itself is the equitable, the equity piece, right? And so want to name that. Where I'm coming from is literally, it's an addition of 11 words that I think would make a big difference. I think are really powerful. I think as much as possible, we should really talk about our equitable communities and what we stand for. I think there is a reason why even our administration always starts presentations with, how do we define equitable communities? It's important that we ground ourselves in that. And this is us who are talking about this every day and working on this every day, right? So imagine somebody else, an outsider, who doesn't really understand our focus, our values in the same way that we do. If they were to grab this document and read, I want them to be clear on who we are, what we stand for. And again, this document reflects that. But if we were to add those simple words at the beginning, in direct alignment with this district's vision of building equitable communities, I think that's powerful. And that's my offering. Again, I think it's a super strong statement, but I would ask that would be taken into consideration. It's not a make it or break it for me, because this is a powerful document, period. I think that would be a really impactful addition. So.
I really appreciate how you're framing this and the collegial spirit and the appreciation for this work. And thank you so much for that. For those who aren't clear on this, the very first paragraph, I'm going to read it and then read the words, the 11 words that Member Chavez is proposing. The first paragraph, the purpose of a stakeholder impact statement is to strengthen organizational relationships with processes of extraordinary communication and consultation that help foster partnership, trust, and goodwill. And I put a period there, but then 11 more words is what Member Chavez is saying. And she's saying, again, that help foster partnership, trust, and goodwill. And here's the 11 words: in direct alignment with the district's vision of building equitable communities. So I'm ready to just hear comments from our colleagues.
I'm open up for Board Member Patty Cotizzi. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Yes. So, I agree with Member Chavez about really what my thanks to you for this really well thought out draft for us. So I wasn't quite actually sure how this was going to be used, and now I see we're forming into a formal board policy. Before I would be ready to vote on this, I would want to make sure that we had what's been the process already, maybe there's been some already, stakeholder input into this actual document here, or what's the plan for obtaining stakeholder input before we vote on this as a board, because I've been speaking with some of our stakeholders already about their concerns about how board policies get formed. And I keep saying, well, hey, look to this stakeholder impact statement. And, they haven't really had an opportunity to engage in it yet. So I just want to make sure that that's included in our process.
That's awesome. Go ahead, Member Herrera.
Yeah, you've brought that point forward before, and this subject has just been punted forward, and we've not really, finally landed at a moment like this. And you're making a very valid point. It's been on agendas. I've heard, some comments offline, but I think in the spirit of this, that there actually ought to be some outreach and assuring that we have consulted with our key stakeholders and assured we've heard some comments and not just let it, be whether they happen to catch it in the flurry of their work, or what have you. So I think it would be helpful between now and the second reading to do some outreach on that and assure that we do hear from some key people. So yes, thank you for that.
All right. Any other board member comments? Well, I really appreciate, board member Herrera, board member Lorena Chavez have been working on this, but I know that this item has been postponed so many months, and that is now is the time that we bring it in and we have a discussion. So we're going to have a thoroughly discussion. And I agree that we have some input of, the outreach to different key stakeholder, so we can listen to their comments will be a big impact into this, 6th element of stakeholder impact statement. So I'm really appreciate Vice President Herrera that, really put a lot of time and commitment to think this some way that with your experience and with your passion that we can bring back, to the board, how we can work together, with the policy maker, so we can do more outreach and we can achieve our goals to work with a stakeholder impact statement.
I forgot to mention one item when discussing the need for administrative regulations to clarify the implementation of this. And that is, in my concept of this is not intended for every potential issue that arises in the ongoing life of the district, because that would simply overwhelm and even paralyze the administrative, the work of the administration. In my mind, it's meant for high impact, high priority issues that are potential proposals that are brought forward. And that's part of the reg clarification that, when is this triggered or how is this triggered? And so all of that will be clarified in the administrative regulations, but this is simply the policy framework, for it. So I would like to request that the administration assist me in getting a communication out to key stakeholders by name, not just some generality. I would like people sent a communication on behalf of the board and with me as the contact person for receiving any potential feedback or what have you. And if that can be gotten out this week, and by the time we have our when is the next board meeting?
March
4th.
March 4th, and today is okay, so we have some time. Yeah, and then I'll follow up with if I need to with phone calls or what have you, just to make sure that key stakeholders have been, solicited for their input and they've had an opportunity to provide it.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that's excellent idea, board member Herrera, but I think it's the main key here that I really want to see this foster partnership, trust and goodwill.
Yes.
That's the 3 elements that really make it, the impact, from stakeholder to policy makers, for your proposal.
I have a quick question for Trustee Herrera. Are you comfortable with the edit that Trustee Chavez made?
I think the more accurate way for me is to say is that I'm not uncomfortable with it. I'm still of the opinion this is a process-oriented, proposed policy. It's not a issue-oriented one. But hey, as she's saying with great passion, every opportunity we can get to kind of ring that bell of equitable communities, I'm not gonna have a problem with that. I'm just being, kind of, what's the word here? Literal here in my interpretation of the language here.
All right.
I'm moved by her passion on that, so I'm leaning toward more and more, the more and more so.
Yeah, well, I was feeling the same way when she was talking. I was going, oops, now I'm feeling drawn over to her side, But
prior to her plea, I must admit, I'm gonna go either way, because this may not. I see your point from the logical point of view.
Yeah.
But I think as you speak, I can see her perspective, and I'm hoping that you can be aligned with that, so that
okay, I vote to include those 11 words. Then.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm grateful.
So,
Yes. So
Madam President, I just want to manage expectations here. Mr. Herrera, are you going to send me the language you would like to put in the email? And am I sending it to all users, to all staff? And then are they replying to you via email? Or are they calling your cell phone? How? I just need more information than what you've given.
I'll go offline with you and clarify that, and hopefully we can take some action. Tomorrow even.
Ideally, we want to send one version out rather than two, because the stakeholder will have a comment on that. But at least we as the board should be united in sending out one version rather than two.
Yeah, I agree. We don't want to confuse stakeholder. So are we going with the version of?
We're going with the amended version.
Amended version. All right, that's great.
Thank you. Can I ask a quick question? Sorry. Sure. Thank you, Herrera. I really appreciate that. I was going to ask, in terms of the stakeholders, I know you're going offline with Mr. Funk, but are we going to make sure that we have the teachers, different teacher reps, the classified reps, the parents, the students? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. We'll work it out, but in my not fully thought out thinking right now, probably going to go to all users and then individually by name to certain key stakeholder leaders, that we know are the opinion leaders in the organization.
Okay. Yeah, I just asked that because I think it's important to get all the, different stakeholders. So, okay, great.
All right. So we will defer the action to the next board meeting for 11.02. Is that going to consider a third reading?
No, it will be the second reading.
It will be second reading. Okay. All right. Any other board comments?
It might require a third reading depending on the feedback from stakeholders, so I wouldn't be attached.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Board Member Patty Cortese. All right. So we move to 11.03, discussion and consideration or action regarding selection, appointment of board audit committee members, Board Member Lorena Chavez as the chair and Board Member Brian Doe as the vice chair.
Yes. Thank you, Trustee Lay. So what we have here in front of us is actually all of our current audit committee members. Their terms have expired, and so we were in search for new committee members, and we are very grateful that we received 3 applicants. And so we want to bring those forward today. Mr. Rajesh Gadboli, Vikas Navani, and Brenda Serrano. And 2 of our members will be appointed for a 2-year term, and 1 member will be appointed for a 1-year term. The alternate is appointed to serve a 1-year term. public member terms are staggered so that our terms do not end at the same time. And we end up in a situation like we ended up this past year. So I want to bring this forward for approval from the board. From the board.
Any other question from the board, or we can take an action for item 11.03? I need a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Board Member Herrera. And
I'm happy to second. Yeah, if
All
the
right.
committee doesn't want to do that, sure.
Yeah, thank you, Board Member Cortese. So, Mary Gillen, would you have a roll call, please?
Student Governing Board Member Bruce Wynn, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board roll call vote. President Lake,
Aye.
Vice President Herrera,
Aye.
Clerk Chavez,
Aye.
Member Cortese,
Aye.
Member Joe.
Aye.
All right, this item approved unanimously. So thank you. And we move to 11.04, which is discussion and action regarding 2021 California School Board Association CSBA Delegate Assembly Election. Superintendent Fung?
This is an opportunity for the board to vote on up to 6 candidates for delegate assembly, and the candidates are here below. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Our very own president is on this ballot. We can vote up to 6 of them. And I see Trustee Cortese has her hand up.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to move that we nominate our very own Von Lay, along with the incumbents and Carol Przunka from Cambrian School District. So that would be our 6.
Second. Is that a motion?
That was my motion.
I second.
Can I make where does my amendment come in? I have a yeah, I'd like to have someone who's not an incumbent aside from Trustee Lay.
I have a question, if I may.
Yeah.
Do we have to vote for all 6, or is that just recommended?
Yes,
Yeah, the action is for the board to vote up to 6. You don't have to vote for 6, but up to 6.
We can vote for any trustee that we are familiar with, like our own George Sanchez, who is former principal of Eastside, but he's right now is a trustee of Franklin McKinley. A couple people that I know that been involved, like Alum Rock is our feeder school, so. And the reason I'm running this time because I want to have the representative of the Asian voice in the delegate. I know that board member Lorena Chavez already has the delegate position, with CSBA as the representatives for Eastside, but still I don't see that many Asian voice on the delegate. So that's why I want to apply this time.
Yeah.
Member Chavez, I'm very open to your recommendation.
Yeah, I think definitely Trustee Lay. I also want to nominate Devin Conley from Mountain View Wisman. Done a lot of great work with her. I think she'd be an asset to the delegates and, our feeder districts, Andres Quintero, George Sanchez. And other than that, I don't really mind who else. I just wanted to make sure to get Devin Conley in there as well.
All right.
Ideally for me, I love to have the people that we know to be great to vote for rather than get all 6, because it might dilute the people that we want to be supportive of. If you have worked with folks outside of our board president, Van Lay, and you feel passionate about, I'd love to be supportive of that, but I want to make sure that we don't just vote just because 6, because we have 6.
Agree. Any other comments? So we will vote like for Devon Conley, myself, Andre Quintero, and George Sanchez, correct?
I do have a relationship with Carol Prasunka too, so I would add her if we have room for that.
Okay, Carol Prasunka. All right. That's 5. All right. Okay, and do we have already a motion from board member Patty Cotizzi, but Lorena Chavez also got.
Yeah, I'll defer my motion to trustee.
All right,
And then I second that.
awesome. So can we do roll call, Mary?
Let us confirm the vote, who we're voting for, and then we'll have that just to make sure there's clarity.
So we have 5, which is Devon Conley, myself, Carol Prisanka, Andre Quintero, and George Sanchez. All right, so we have 5.
Great.
Okay, so roll call, please, Mary.
Student Governing Board Member Bruce Wynn, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board roll call vote. President Lay,
Aye.
Vice President Herrera,
Aye.
Clerk Chavez,
Aye.
Member Cortese,
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
And Madam President, now, hopefully when you get elected, you can also remind them how to spell East Side and get our name of our district correct.
Okay, we do.
Drives me crazy when they can't get our name right.
I know. Thank you for pointing out for me. Okay, now we move to no item on the item 12. Then we move to 13.01. Discussion and action approved contract professional services over 25,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right. Can Mary do a roll call, please?
Student Governing Board Member Bruce Wynn, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board roll call vote. President Lay,
Aye.
Vice President Herrera,
Aye.
Clerk Chavez,
Aye.
Member Cortese,
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
All right. Now we move to item 14.01, discussion and action to adopt resolution number 2020-2021-19, declaring the observance of Lincoln's birthday on February 19, 2021. Mr. Glenn Van Der Zee.
This is simply that. It's a resolution for us to observe Lincoln's holiday on the 19th so that it can be part of our winter break.
Okay, I need a motion, please.
Move for
To
approval.
approve. Oh, go ahead. I'll second.
So
Thank
moved
you.
by Board Member Lorena Chavez and second by Board Member Patty Cotizzi, right? All right, so roll call, please, Mary.
Student Governing Board Member Bruce Wynn, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board roll call vote. President Lay,
Aye.
Vice President Herrera,
Aye.
Clerk Chavez,
Aye.
Member Cortese,
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
All right, so now we move to number 6, item 16.
Move for approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
All right, let's do roll call, please, Mary, for consent calendar.
Student Governing Board Member Bruce Wynn, how do you vote?
I approve.
Board roll call vote. President Lay,
Aye.
Vice President Herrera,
Aye.
Clerk Chavez,
Aye.
Member Cortese,
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
All right, so now we have item, is that 20? No, that's
21.
21. Written report recommendation. 21.02. Receive report board member expand October, November, December fiscal year 2021. I don't think we have any item on of a member expense because we don't travel anymore during the pandemic. So
You're just moving to receive.
oh, we just okay. So we have to approve to receive it. Do we have to
don't
have a
to take
motion?
action. We don't have to take action. It's just transmitted.
All right.
Receive
Thank
it.
you. All right, board member item 22.01, future agenda items. So any board member has any future items would like to address? If
Madam President, for the record, this Naviance will be coming in March, and we hope to bring the resolution for the state seal also in March.
awesome, thank you, Superintendent Fung. And 22.03, annual governance calendar.
That's just for information.
All right, we don't have to have any action. Okay. All right, now we move to 23.01. So any board trustee superintendent communication comments. So first I'm asking our board vice president, Manuel Herrera.
I just really appreciated our discussion, our interaction, our collegial way of being with each other on the discussion with the stakeholder impact statement. And I want to ask that any of you who have a particular stakeholder, individual, or group that you want to be sure is proactively reached out to, please let the superintendent know. And when I confirm with him, that's going to be different from the general broadcast email. The general broadcast email is going to go to all users, but there's going to be a proactive effort individually named. And there's the usual suspects, but if you want to be sure that someone isn't missed, that you're concerned we hear from, let the superintendent know by tomorrow or tonight. All right.
Okay.
Muchas
All right.
gracias.
Thank you, board member, board vice president Herrera. Nothing for Metro Ed? No? All right, so let's move on.
Sorry, I was muted and not really.
Okay.
You know, Metro Ed is still standing,
Okay.
still delivering.
Okay, no problem. All right, so move on to board member, board clerk, Lorena Chavez.
Yeah, I was looking at my calendar. I'm like, what's coming up? What's top of mind is similar to what board member Herrera just said. I'm just feeling really, really grateful for the way that we work through things. We have our different perspectives, and yet we're able to continuously talk about it and meet each other and really think of the bigger picture. And I'm just really proud to be part of a board that does that ongoing. I think we've had the opportunity recently to do that twice, and we've done it. And so I really hope that this is a way that we continue to be. So I appreciate that. Really appreciate the work that our school staff is doing, our teachers, our classified staff, our district office staff. Y'all are working around the clock. And so just know that that doesn't go unnoticed. And to all of our students, we see you too. Keep communicating with us, keep pushing us, keep bringing things to the table. We're here to serve you ultimately. So yeah, that's all.
Awesome. Thank you, board clerk Lorena Chavez. And here we have from Board Audit Committee, Santa Clara County School Board Association. Do you have any other comments?
No, right now with the Santa Clara County, we're really thinking about legislation and what we're going to be taking on as delegates. Something that's really top of mind for me is the digital divide. I don't know how many of y'all know, but I'm part of the Digital Equity Coalition, one of the founders, and we've been talking about work that we can do not only in East Side or the county, but also at the state. There's a few bills that have came out recently. We just signed I think it's like the Digital Equity Bill of Rights or something to that extent. I could send it to you, Mr. Funk, so that you can put it out in the newsletter. But it's essentially talking about how internet should be accessible to everyone. It should be a utility, and this is something that we're continuously advocating for. And I know that's top of mind for CSBA. In terms of audit committee, I think the biggest thing is that we're really excited to welcome this new group of folks now that they've been formally selected. And so I'm excited to start the word alongside Mr. Doe and Kelly. So that's all.
Awesome. Thank you. How about board member Patty Cortese? Any comments?
Sure. Well, I just want to say Chuk Mung Nam Wai to everybody, and Happy Asian New Year to all of the, that's, we're meeting on Tuesday because of the holiday, and so I just want to wish you all very Happy New Year. I know it's a very, very important holiday for your community. So thank you.
Thank you, board member Cortese. Now, Brian Doe.
Yes. First of all, I just want to say how I share a lot of comment that made by my fellow colleagues earlier. I'm very excited to be working alongside. I feel very honored to work with you. I appreciate the collegiate feeling, the way you're approaching it, in resolving differences or different opinions and working well together. I've seen on at least 2 occasions how we have we have improved from the original product, and each step we make collectively together, we have improved upon. So the products, not only the resolutions, but I see that in the futures as more and more issues coming up, I think we can do great and extraordinary things for our students. So I'm very proud to be part of this board. And Patty, if I may, Trustee Cortese, I should say, your Chúc Mừng Năm Mới is getting better and better than your husband. So you can tell Dave that. A happy Lunar New Year. I look forward to the new year, and I think great things will be coming to our school districts.
Awesome, board member Brian Doe. Well, for me, that I will call that Happy Tet. Like Happy New Year. Tet is the name that the Vietnamese New Year. I know that we're going to celebrate this coming weekends, and I appreciate all the board members as well as administration, teachers, staff have to move the date so we can, take a time, because I myself have to prepare food. Even though we're not gathering my family member, but I have to pray for our ancestor. So it's tradition that we're still gonna keep it, for a time. And I know that last year, VEPA, Vietnamese Educator and Parents Association, has organized a very nice gathering event at our district to celebrate Tet and also introduce our culture to many other staff that many probably would not pay attention or maybe not aware of the Vietnamese New Year. Coincide with the Asian, which is the Chinese New Year, and like we call Lunar New Year. So I think as I'm very excited, we have 1 year older, much more wiser, much more. I wish everyone is prosperous, happiness, and especially is much more healthy for next year, and hopefully that everyone will work together, and we will have much more better year of the ox. Okay, we have 12 animals, so we're gonna rotate it every year. But my involvement, I was still involved with the East San Jose Rotary Club that we've been working with the scholarship of Gerald and Dorothy. I'm really want to support, because I want to bring some scholarship to our East Side students. And they were talking about, like vocational and community college, those criteria that fit, with Metro Ed, as well as our student that involved in the community college. I know that I'm very busy, but I will work with Superintendent Feng to think about the month of May that we will celebrate the Asian Heritage Month. So I think it's something that I'm really proud of my heritage as an Asian, as a community leader. So I hope that we continue to keep the tradition as a role model for our Asian students. We talk about equity equitable. So I hope that we're gonna do a better job to share the culture and learn from others. That's just my point to take. So I think that's and I think I really appreciate like all the dialogue, among our board colleagues. Yes, we do have a different perspective, but I think we have a very good and strong board. We do listen and work well with each other, and I'm proud that this is my 11th years. So I'm really excited and I'm really honored to be with all my board colleagues and really appreciate all the works from administrator, teachers, staff, and also students. That we are here because of students. And I can say enough that I've been through the time that I was the student, but it would different in the time that we sit here and we make a policy that impact our student, impact the whole district. So I'm learning a lot, and I appreciate every time that I attend the board meeting, and I'm learning from different sector, different stakeholder. That's make me feel that I'm also grow older or grow wiser, but that's something that I very appreciate from the bottom of my heart. That's all I have. So I move up to Bruce Nguyen, Student Governance Board Representative. Bruce.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for this meeting. So one of the important things I'd like to emphasize is community, and to represent everyone that is inside that community. And yeah, particularly during this month, like I said before, it's Black History Month. We should acknowledge a lot of the struggles, a lot of the accomplishments of African Americans, people of color, and as well as everyone that is also within that as well. As you have heard previously, I would say within the Bay Area, there may have been incidents and events that may have unfolded within the Asian American community. I want to give light to that, and to make sure that we are safe and we can work together to right the wrongs, and to stay closer together. So that's something I wanted to say about that. In regards to my own culture, definitely I want to celebrate Lunar New Year's. Hopefully I do get some money, because in our culture it's passing the money that's lucky, and in the they call it lisi, and definitely so I'm looking looking forward to seeing my family, so that's important too. With that said, that's all I have. I thank you everyone for taking the time to listen.
Awesome, Bruce. Thank you. Chris Fung, Superintendent.
Yeah, I will pass. Thank you.
All right. Yes.
Before we get our general counsel's report,
yes.
I just want to offer this thought, because I'm going to be talking with the superintendent, that in terms of proactive, individually named stakeholder leaders to seek input from regarding the stakeholder impact statement, it just occurred to me that the group that was enrolled for the Vanto training really represents the nucleus of leadership that we really want to be sure to hear from. And we can just start with that list and add if we need to, but each one of those should get an individualized request sent to them for their comment, and what have you. And then I'll work it forward with the superintendent. If any of you have, Mr. Superintendent, if you could send that list out to the board and they can review it and see if there's anybody missing from there that they think ought to receive an individual outreach. That could be a way to start this.
Would you willing to share that list with us so that we can look at what else?
I just asked the superintendent to share it with the board.
Oh, fantastic. I sorry.
Can you do that?
Oh, no, I can definitely do that. But when you're asking individual, there are 60 people that went to that. Can I just blank copy them, the same email, and not send?
I don't think that's as effective as Manuel sent to my address and me, Manuel, being asked for, I don't think it's the same to get blind copied or generally what have you. You know, and yeah, it's a little bit more work, but it's a kind of proactive effort to really have people weigh in or know that at least they were, you know, they were given that opportunity and every opportunity. Have you. I think that's the spirit of what Patty was alluding to, you know, to be sure that we're really, you know, making every effort to.
Right. Well, I would just say even Patty made individual emails to the Vanto group. And so I'll be glad to do this on your behalf when this is your proposal.
Okay, well, we'll talk more. I just wanted to drop that into the thinking of our colleagues, my board colleagues.
I like the idea.
Yeah.
I don't know how it will be executed properly, but I do like the concept of reaching out to this nucleus of folks who have the potential to make extraordinary change.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll just talk with you more, Mr. Superintendent, and we'll make it workable.
Right. And I remember Brian and I, we did attend the Vanto group just last weekend. And I know that we have other 3, I think, speech therapists also attend the same group with us. So, you know, if you include whoever that 60 member that attend the Vanto group, so please remember that we also add the other 3 who attend in our group, right? Okay, yeah. But still awesome. I mean, I really like Vanto group and I really learn a lot from there. So we'll see. We can apply somewhere on time. So let's move on to, thank you, Patty. For board meeting evaluation, I would have to say that every time that we get out before 10, I think we don't have to really do the board meeting evaluation. I hope my board colleagues will agree with me. So, so we move on to 24.01. So legal counsel, any report on closed session?
Yes. Closed session item 2.05, on a motion by member Herrera, second by member Chavez, the board unanimously approved the issuance of a notice of demotion and statement of charges for 1 classified employee. Also at the January 28th board closed session item 2.07, the board unanimously approved a settlement agreement with Matroscope Engineering, which includes a payment of $181,415.53 by the district and releases and mutual waivers as part of the settlement agreement. And that agreement has been signed by Matroscope Engineering. There are no further actions to report.
Thank you, legal counsel Rogerio. So now I think that's we are finished, and I know that we will see our next board meeting will be February 16th, and after that will be February 20th will be board retreat. So now we adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone. Good evening and good night.